I've called this the good, the bad and the ugly, because there is good, there is bad, and there is downright ugly in Wikipedia, and I wanted to talk about some of those issues and be upfront about them. So why do I edit Wikipedia? Why should you edit Wikipedia? Maybe I'm preaching to the converted, maybe you already do, and I don't really need to sell it to you, but this is personally why I edit Wikipedia. This is why I spend time on it. It's viewed 15 billion times per month, so not just Wikipedia, but all of the sister projects. That's by 1 billion unique devices, so whether that's tablets, phones, desktop computers, and that has over 500 million visits per day. So 500 million is a kind of number that's really difficult to get your head around. So another way of looking at it is to say that's 6,000 visits per second. So in the 2 minutes I've been talking, that's quite a lot of visits already. So, and this is really why I edit Wikipedia, because people read it. You know, why would you want to write stuff that nobody read? We've all written stuff that nobody reads. It would be documentation or papers or whatnot. But you can write stuff on Wikipedia and people read it. And you know, that's what writing's all about at the end of the day, about communicating with people, whoever those people may be. The other reason I edit Wikipedia is because there's a fantastic community. It's a totally awesome community, to use an Americanism. This is a group of people at Wikimania 2014 as a Barbican Centre in London. There are all sorts of interesting people in the community. There's not just editors, you've got data scientists, you've got software engineers, nerds, all sorts of people, all sorts of weirdos, all sorts of crazy people. You can see Andy Mabbitt's in there somewhere.
Not quite sure I like that association.
You can actually see Wally as well, apparently. Somebody dressed as Wally. Where's Wally in this picture? So this is one of the reasons I edit Wikipedia, because I come along to fantastic events like this and meet fantastic people like you here today that I wouldn't normally meet in my normal day-to-day work. Another event worth mentioning was 2 years ago. We had a conference at the Wellcome Trust in 2014, organised by Martin Poulter, and similar kind of people, just fantastic community, people who are really dedicated and committed to the cause of what Wikipedia is trying to do. And it's really enjoyable to meet these people and work with them. There's another reason. So as an academic, Wikipedia is very, very interesting from a research point of view. So a nice summary of this is if you go to the Wiki Research website or their Twitter feed here, you can see people are publishing papers all the time, doing all sorts of things with Wikipedia, looking at different languages, doing data mining on it, all sorts of exciting stuff. I have master's students at the University of Manchester doing projects on this, and they found some incredible things. It's amazing what you can do. Now, a bit like the dark bits on this map, you see where the lights are, or the light bits. There's a lot of dark stuff on on Wikipedia, by which I mean you just can't see it. It's not there. It hasn't been written yet, and I guess that's kind of partly what we're talking about today. Scientists are very underrepresented, so I'd put most scientists are in the dark here. They're not even in the light.
So is that a boat, or who's using it? That particular map?
Sorry, this is just a map of light in Europe. It's nothing. It's nothing to do with Wikipedia. I just used it as this is a nice pointer to.
It's all the articles in Wikidata that have coordinates.
Right. Yes. So you can see there's a geographical bias in Wikipedia, in that obviously the UK is quite well covered and Europe's quite well covered, but there's a lot of Africa and Malaysia and Russia and places that isn't covered at all. And that's really where our scientists are. A lot of them are in the dark. They're not being described at all. I mean, if you flick through that book of women physiologists, a lot of those won't have Wikipedia articles, and that's why we're here today, I suppose. The other reason I edit Wikipedia is we live in interesting times, shall we say. So in the world where we live in a world of sort of alternative facts and Brexit and Trump and really momentous times, I think Wikipedia is more important than ever, that we can verify facts, and that's really one of the foundational principles of Wikipedia, is that you can verify a fact, not that a fact is, Donald Trump says it's a fact, so it's a fact. It's a fact because I can verify it. I can go to the source and say, well, is that really true? And yes, it is, or no, it isn't. So, as I said, I've been working with the Royal Society for about 5 years in a voluntary capacity. But to get us warmed up on a bit of Royal Society stuff, I wanted to have a quick pub quiz, Royal Society pub quiz. So have a think, which scientists that are also fellows of the Royal Society do you think are the most viewed in Wikipedia? So have a think for 30 seconds or so. Darwin, we've got Dawkins. Any other authors? Einstein? Watson and Crick? Newton? Yeah, okay, there. Sorry, Brian. Brian Cox. The answer is it's one of these two. So I'd like you to guess. Out of all of the fellows, there's 9,000 fellows of the Royal Society, and these two are at the top of the pile of most viewed. Which one do you think is the most viewed? Is it Einstein or is it Hawking? So can we have a hands up, Einstein? Interesting. And hands up, Hawking. Wow, well you're right. Comprehensively, well, it's actually quite close. So this is data based on 2 years. So this is 2 years of data that's been tracked. It's on so in the last 2 years, Stephen Hawking's Wikipedia article in English has been viewed 21 million times. That amounts to a daily average of 27,000 times a day. Just slightly behind him is Albert Einstein with a mere 17 million visits, with a daily average of 22,000.
It's a slightly sneaky question, since Einstein was a foreign member, not a fellow.
I use the word fellow in its broadest sense. But you're right. So that tool there is something called Pageviews. So it's quite an interesting tool if you want to have a look at the data in Wikipedia and see, what people are viewing. That's quite a nice little tool. You can do little comparisons of, handfuls of things. They don't have to be people, it could be any article. That's a nice tool. So my second question is, which living fellow of the Royal Society, we talked about lots of people said Newton and Darwin and people, which living fellow of the Royal Society has the second most page views after Hawking? Some guesses. Anyone want to guess? Richard Dawkins is a one. Any advance on Dawkins? Steve Jones. David Attenborough. It's one of these three. We've got Dawkins, so you guessed right. We've got Berners-Lee, and we've got Brian Cox. Which order do you think they're in terms of? Well, let's just. Which one's got the most out of those three?
Please let it be Berners-Lee.
It's not Berners-Lee. It's actually Dawkins. So here's the data here. So this is another nice tool that Wikipedia's got called Mass Views. And you can say, rather than just comparing a handful of pages, you can compare thousands of pages at a time. So what I've loaded in here is category Fellows of the Royal Society. 2 years of data. And you can see that Stephen Hawking's at the top. Now, the reason that Einstein isn't appearing in here, as was pointed out, is he's not a fellow of the Royal Society, he's a foreign member of the Royal Society, so he doesn't appear in this list. But there's all sorts of interesting people in here, isn't there? There's Churchill and Turing and Newton and all the kinds of people you'd expect. Kings, it's a Royal Society after all. And as you go down this list, number 13, there's Dawkins, 2 million page views. Shortly after him, you've got Tim Berners-Lee, 2.3 million page views. And then just before Faraday, just after Bertrand Russell, interesting place to be, Brian Cox with 2.1 million views. So that's about 2,600 visits per day.
How do you have to go down?
This list is 5,000 long.
How far are you going to go down before you find the limit?
That's a very good question.
How much is she paying?
In fact, it's my next question. So yes, the thing you'll notice in here, how many women? Zero. I think they call that patriarchy, don't they? So, which female fellow of the Royal Society has the most page views? Susan Greenford?
Wendy Smith.
Wendy Hall? Any other female fellows?
Dorothy Hodgkin.
Dorothy Hodgkin's a good answer.
Rosalind Franklin?
Rosalind Franklin, another good one.
Was it Lovelace?
I don't know. Lovelace? Not sure. It's one of these three, sorry. Do you know who these people are? So, who's the woman on the left? Thank you. Famous astronomer. The woman in the middle is, I think her name might be Maggie, I think.
Theresa May.
Maggie Thatcher still haunts us. The woman on the right. Do you know who the woman on the right is?
Dorothy Hodgkin.
Dorothy Hodgkin, yes, thank you. Interesting bonus pub quiz question here. What's the relationship between Thatcher and Hodgkin?
Somerville College.
She was a student.
Thank you, yes. So Margaret Thatcher was Dorothy Hodgkin's, one of Dorothy Hodgkin's students when she was studying at Oxford. So we're down to two. It's going to be between Hodgkin and Thatcher as to who's got the most viewed. So one's won the Nobel Prize and one's been the Prime Minister.
Thatcher.
Oh. The answer is Thatcher, yeah. I thought I had a slide there with the data, but yeah, the answer is Thatcher. So Thatcher wins, and comprehensively, despite not being a real scientist. Doesn't have a PhD. Right, so the Royal Society. So there's significant overlap between the Royal Society's aims. In fact, any academic society or learned society's aims are basically about recognising and promoting science for the benefit of humanity. Wikipedia has a very similar goal. It obviously goes about it in a very, very different way to the Royal Society. I mean, they're like chalk and cheese, these two societies. Every single person on the planet is given free access to the sum of all knowledge. These are remarkably similar objectives, but achieved in completely different ways. So I said at the beginning I was going to do good, bad, and ugly. I don't want to finish with bad and ugly. I want to finish with the good. So I'm going to start with the bad and get it out of the way, and then we can finish on a high point. So what's bad about the Royal Society and scientists and Wikipedia? This is what's bad. This won't be news to anyone here, I suppose. So I reckon on average about 30% of 1,000 fellows elected just in the last 20 years have no wiki biography at all, so that's about 300 in total. Now what's interesting about that 30% figure is that that stretches right back 350 years, right back to the people we were talking about, Darwin and Newton, right back at the sort of the birth of science in many ways. So that graph shows a trend for the last 20 years-ish. But if you go back 350 years, there's about 3,000 of roughly 9,000 fellows of the Royal Society have no biography at all, nothing. Wikipedia has nothing to say about them. It does, however, have a Wikidata item, so all 9,000 of those fellows of the Royal Society does have a Wikidata item, thanks to some fantastic work by a guy called Magnus Mansk and Charles Matthews. So, you know, the beginnings are there. When I started this project, I couldn't believe that there were so many missing articles, and I kind of wondered why it was. And now Andy's already touched on the conflict of interest policy, and you're not supposed to write articles about people that you know. And if you think about the nature of what scientists do, you can be at the top of your game in science and be quite obscure, because the only people who are going to know you are the people in your field. So they're not going to write an article about you because that would violate this conflict of interest policy, potentially. The other thing is there's another policy in Wikipedia about biographies of living persons. And if you read that document, it sort of makes you think, well, I'm never going to write an article about a living person because it's scary, the stuff in there. It talks about libel and all sorts, and so it's perhaps not surprising that lots of living scientists don't have biographies, because it's complicated, and it's not a straightforward thing. This is my colleague Nancy Rothwell. She has a reasonably good Wikipedia article, but what's missing here is that picture isn't particularly good. So she's lucky in that she has a picture of her. Lots of scientists, she's lucky she has an article at all. She has a picture, but it's not a very good picture. It's very low resolution, and it's not really a very good picture of Nancy. But that's often the way with articles about scientists, that the pictures are poor. Now, so thankfully there's communities on Wikipedia, so I mean there's the whole community as a whole, but then there's sub-communities that are tackling these issues in specific areas. There's 5 here that I think are relevant to the Royal Society, the Physiological Society. Significant overlap with medicine, obviously. Medicine is an incredibly active project. They're doing some fantastic work. Wikipedia project Royal Society is what I've been talking about today, but there's also molecular and cellular biology. There's also women in science, significant overlap between all these things, and there's computational biology, which I spelt wrong. So that's the bad. Now let's talk about the ugly. What's ugly about Wikipedia is anyone can edit it, and anyone will edit it. So this article here has been vandalized. Can you spot the vandalism? You all spotted it?
The appellation behind Brian Cox.
Yes, they've added a suffix to his name, haven't they? Now, thankfully, this was reverted fairly speedily by a bot. So this kind of stuff happens all the time in Wikipedia, and you don't see it because it gets quickly reverted by bots. Yeah, so that's Brian's article. Another example, this is slightly more amusing if you pretend to be a teenager back at school. This is Adrian Hayday. He's a group leader at the Francis Crick Institute here in London. And somebody has written, see the second paragraph, it says, Adrian has a rather lustrous moustache. It is truly a thing of beauty, and he rarely gets food caught in it. And they've had a good chuckle to themselves. I suspect this is probably someone in his lab who's done it as a bit of a laugh, maybe a PhD student or a postdoc, that kind of thing. So that kind of thing is actually harder for bots to pick up on, because it's not really malicious, and it's not saying anything nasty, and it's not used any sort of words that might set a bell off set the alarm bells off. So I actually reverted that one after having a quick giggle. There's also a professor who shall remain nameless who edits their article, but they do it under a pseudonym, so it's actually quite hard to prove that it's them. So you're not supposed to edit your own, if you didn't know this. If you have a Wikipedia article about you, you're not supposed to edit it. Not supposed to edit it, but people do. Some people do it in a way that they just make factual changes, and that's fine, that's verifiable, and they'll put on the talk page that this article is about me, and I'm an expert on me because I am me, so this is right, or this is wrong. Others are a bit less scrupulous, and they have a definite conflict of interest in that they edit their own biography, and it's not very neutral, frankly. I can't name them because I'll get into trouble. So let's finish on the good, because that's what I want to focus on, the positive stuff, the good stuff, why we're all here today. As I said, there's a typo there in John Burns' name. As I said, we started the Wikipedian in Residence scheme at the Royal Society a few years ago. This is John Byrne. He was the guy that filled the role, and you can see him there. He's talking at Wikimedia in the Netherlands. He's got some images there. So I mentioned images are often poor. One of the results of the work that he did was to publish all these portraits online in Wikimedia Commons. So there's about 200 high-quality portraits of leading scientists, and they're not just British scientists, because it's people like Jennifer Doudna, for example, who's doing all the work on CRISPR, a lot of the work on CRISPR recently. So things are changing. We're getting good quality articles, and this is one of the most important things that's come out of this project. That I think if other learned academic societies were looking to do this kind of thing, get images out there, and get images of people if you can, because that's what's sorely missing. And often you'll find that images actually spur people to create articles. Since we're at the Physiological Society, just two examples. So this is Gero Miesenbock, who's a professor of physiology at Oxford. So there you can see a reasonable article, good quality portrait. This is heading in the right direction. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Another example you'll find in that book of women physiologists, Annette Dolphin, who's a professor of physiology, amongst other things, at UCL here in London. Again, good quality picture, reasonably structured, referenced. There's good stuff in there. So to finish up on, going back to the pub quiz, which article do you think gets more traffic out of these two articles? So there's an article about the Royal Society, and then probably its most significant award is Fellowship of the Royal Society. For a long time, the article on the right just simply redirected to the article on the left. So the article on the right is actually one I wrote, and gave a bit more detail on distinguishing the prize from the society that awards it. So it's a bit like you think about the Oscars. There's a page that describes the Oscars, and then there's a page that describes what's the organisation called that awards the Oscars? The American Academy of, yeah, that one. Which article of those do you think is most viewed?
Definitely the FRS one, because your tag will be the thing that's after people's names on all the pages.
Yeah, you're right. It's quite close though. So again, this is in Mass Views again. Category Royal Society. We've got 800,000 page views in 2 years. So that's about 1,000 page views a day. The article about the Royal Society itself is slightly behind on 900 views, but it's close. If you look at the Oscars, and the article about the society that awards the Oscars, there's a massive difference. The award is much more trafficked than the organisation that awards it, and there's a bunch of other interesting stuff in there as well. So to conclude then, Wiki Project Royal Society is a fairly small project when you compare it to things like Wiki Project Medicine. It's really a handful of people, essentially. It's had some success. There is good, there is bad, there is ugly. We found that images can spur article creation, and I think that's something that all societies, all learned societies should be pushing to do, is to get high quality images onto Wikimedia Commons so they can be used in Wikipedia. Another thing they did is they released the text, so the biographies that you see on your USB stick, the Royal Society biographies, are actually published under a permissive Creative Commons license. So what this means is, if we go back to Annette Dolphin, that text there is cut and pasted from her Royal Society biography, and it makes it much quicker to create an article if you don't have to think about what words you're writing, if you can just cut and paste them. Now, normally if you cut and paste stuff, that's a copyright violation, it'll get quickly reverted. But in the case of these, the text, the biographies, thankfully, that the Royal Society publish when they elect their new fellows every year, is under a Creative Commons license, so you can just cut and paste it. It makes it much, much quicker and much, much easier to create articles. But sadly, there's still 3,000 biographies left unwritten, so if anyone's got any spare time, please come and join us. And I think another thing here is to build communities. So I've talked about pages and data, but I think what this is really about, and why Wikipedia works, it has lots of fancy technology, it has lots of good stuff, but it works because of the community. So if the Physiology Society wants to be successful in making its work and physiology generally more visible than Wikipedia, build the community, because that's what makes it work. To acknowledge a few people. So I should firstly acknowledge Andy Mabbitt, who is the reason I'm here today, for inviting me. I'd also like to thank Paul Nurse because he said yes when I suggested that they should move in this direction. He said yes. There's various people at the Royal Society who've helped me, particularly Ruth Ford has helped with some of the work on portraits. Thank you, Anisha, for organising today. Thank you to John Byrne, who's been the Wikipedian in residence. Thanks to Magnus and Charles, who've done lots of great stuff with Wikidata, and then thousands of editors, lots and lots of editors who've gone and done this stuff. And then my last slide is I have to acknowledge these people haven't been involved in this particular project, but my Mancunian mentors and managers are, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. So I have to acknowledge them and say thank you.